Welcome back, Awakening Beauties. So glad to be with you today. My name is Robin, and this is my fourth part in my series talking about my experience going on a semaglutide. If you haven't watched the other parts of this, I have them all linked in a playlist, which I will put a link to that below in the description, where I talk about why I decided to go on a semaglutide. I did not take this decision lightly. I know a lot of people are using it mostly for weight loss. Obviously that was my main intention, and also I was hoping to get some other benefits of reducing inflammation and hopefully some cognitive benefits. So anyways, I talked about all of that in the first video of why I decided to go on the semaglutide. But this fourth part was when things started to sort of go downhill for me, and I filmed this on April the 18th when I was just getting ready to take, I think, my 7th dose. So doses 1 through 4 was really a microdose, 5 units, I believe that's 2.5 milligrams. And then dose 5 is when we doubled and we went to 10 units, which was still only 5 milligrams and not considered to be a very high dosage. But I immediately started to have some of those common side effects of nausea, which was to be expected. Then there was other things that started to happen as far as my symptoms that I wasn't necessarily expecting. I just want to give this disclaimer that this video series that I'm making about my experience with semaglutide is not intended to turn anybody onto this medicine or off of this medicine, or to tell you you should or shouldn't take it. I think that's a completely individual decision that you should make with yourself and with your doctor. Yeah, I'm not here to judge or tell anybody if they should or shouldn't take a semaglutide, but I just want to give my personal experience and hope that it's of value to somebody watching. So let's get into that video where I talk about some of the symptoms I was experiencing. So this is an update. I haven't filmed an update in several weeks since starting semaglutide. I believe tomorrow will be my 7th dose. So I'll be starting my 7th week. And not amazing news to report, unfortunately. I just filmed this makeup look, and so that video probably went up if I decided to put it up. I was having a really hard time filming that video just with some of the issues that I've been having since the past few weeks, really. And so let me just kind of explain what I'm talking about. So if you watched that video, this will explain some of the things that I was alluding to in that video. I'm gonna have to be honest with you guys, because I'm always honest with you. I'm not doing terrible in my life. I haven't been doing great, and it is mostly focused on some health things going on. Just been dealing with a lot of very extreme fatigue. I'm beating myself up emotionally, almost blaming myself for how bad I've been feeling, as if it's my fault, when I know that I'm doing things to try to improve my health. And the needle, both the needle on the scale and the needle in just my feeling of how I'm doing, is not moving. And in fact, it's worse. I feel worse now. So I'm not going to really talk about it in this video. So I started with 5 units. It's the smallest amount. I have my semaglutide provided by a compounding pharmacy, so I'm able to administer my own shots and my own dosage. And so we titrated up at week 5 to 10 units. And so for week 5 and 6, I took 10 units, which is still a very small amount. But I have a very sensitive system. I took it on a Saturday night, and on Sunday, I felt maybe a little bit nauseous, that first 10 unit shot that I took. But then by Monday, I just felt wrecked. I was so nauseous. I was dizzy. And I just felt like all of my energy had been just drained out of me. And I happened to have my follow-up appointment with the nutritionist that week. And I was telling her how horrible I was feeling. And so she had also, in the meantime, gotten all my blood work and was reviewing the blood work with me about, my various numbers. And my D was low, my vitamin D, my iron was low, my B vitamins. She said I was low on B vitamins. And so she suggested that I go and get a B12 shot for 3 weeks in a row at the wellness center that I'm going to. So I did go on Thursday and get a B12 shot. Friday pretty much still felt the same. I wasn't quite as nauseous, but I did feel very tired. And on Saturday, I was like, oh my God, that was last Saturday when I took a trip out to Sephora. I filmed some content and I had energy again. But the thing is, I haven't even had the energy to get up and go for walks. And if you've been watching my channel, you'll know that I was walking. I was like avidly walking from like September of last year all the way through the new year. And just had really gotten into a good habit for like 4 months of getting up in the morning and walking. And I can't even hardly get out of bed. That's how exhausted I've been. And I go to work and, they can tell. The girls at work have even made some comments that they can tell how exhausted I am. So that Saturday, had a lot of energy, took my 5 units. Sunday, I felt okay, but by Monday, same thing. Started the process all over. Extremely nauseous, extremely exhausted, so tired, a little dizzy, just brain fog. And in the meantime, I doubled my vitamin D. I'm up to 10,000 units. I started taking an iron supplement. I also started retaking all of my vitamins. I also started adding in AG1 because I still have packets of AG1 left over, even though I canceled that subscription. But because I'm like so nauseous and I need to focus on protein, that I'm like, well, if I gotta get my 90 to 100 grams of protein, I'm not gonna waste valuable space in my stomach for consuming food that I don't even want with trying to pack a bunch of vegetables in there because I can't get them in. So that was the other thing that the nutritionist recommended, that I supplement with a green drink. And she's also suggested that I just eat smaller, more frequent meals, which I've been trying to do. It's hard because when you're working, you don't even think to stop to eat little meals. You're just busy all day long. That's been a challenge. It's a full-time job focusing on your health, and it feels very overwhelming, especially when you have no energy and you're just completely exhausted. And it's the exhaustion that's making it all feel even harder than it is. Because I know a lot of people have it hard. A lot of people work more than I do, more hours than I do. I'm not like poor me. My thyroid is fine, in case you guys are worried about my thyroid. They did a full thyroid panel. The numbers are all good with my thyroid. So the next thing that I really need to get tested are my hormones, like my estrogen, progesterone, and my testosterone. I did go to my OBGYN a few weeks ago, and I requested that. And I said, the nutritionist and the naturopath that I'm working with would like to see those numbers. And she refused to order them. She said, you don't need that. Why do you need that? You're postmenopausal. You don't need that. I told my nutritionist, and she was so angry. She's like, well, you need to switch doctors. You need to switch OBGYNs. And I'm like, she's a really good OBGYN too. I've been going to her for a really long time. And I was just sort of like stunned at her refusal to order those blood tests, which if she would have ordered them, my insurance would have paid for it. And now I'm going to have to pay for it out of pocket because she wouldn't order them for me. I was just like, well, I still would like to know where my numbers are. And she just totally blew me off. That's upsetting too, to feel a woman who is an OBGYN, who is, I think she's about my age. We're close in age. And I'm sure she's either gone through menopause or is going through it or close to it. And to be so dismissed, I don't know. And that was acknowledged by Mary Claire Haver in her book, The New Menopause, that, yeah, postmenopausal women or women going through menopause, you just have to deal with it. You know, everybody goes through it, and you're just a hysterical woman. And if I have to pay for it, I will. You know, they told me what it was going to cost, and I was like, well, that doesn't break the bank. I can pay for it. So I've gone through the week and exhausted Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday starting to feel a little bit better. And I went Thursday evening and got my second B12 shot. And I'm going to get a third one next week. I've ordered a B complex with, B12 in it that I'll start taking after I get that next injection. But in the meantime, on Saturday, when I take my next semaglutide injection, I'm going to go back down. The nutritionist said I could go back down to 5, but when I saw the naturopathic doctor who administered my B12 on Thursday, she was like, well, maybe go to 7 or 8. And I'm like, I ain't going to 8. I said, maybe 6.5. Right between 6 and 7, I think it's going to be my sweet spot. Because I'm just super sensitive. And they were like, yeah, there are people like you, not everybody. It's more, I guess, probably more rare to be as sensitive as I am. But like, I can't even take antibiotics. I have reactions to them that are the rare kind of reactions it seems like that people get. But yeah, I haven't taken an antibiotic since 2010. Yeah, just a very sensitive system, very sensitive to energies, but I'm also very sensitive to anything that I take inside of me, inside of my system. That's where I'm at, and it's not great news because like even as of today, I weighed myself and I've only lost 2 pounds, which was like some of my initial fears from the very first video that I made in this series have come up. Of it won't work for me and that I'll feel like crap. And that's what's happened because I'm not losing weight and I'm not feeling any of the positive benefits other than the food noise being reduced greatly. I'm not craving things, but I think that there's a sort of form of, I don't know, I feel a little depressed about food right now. Anyways, just things are really not great right now. And I'm hoping I'm going to feel better soon and that I'll start to get my energy back and that I'll start exercising again and wanting to exercise and enjoying exercising. And so that's it. That's the update. I think what I forgot to say and when I was recording that video is that the nutritionist was so upset about my OBGYN not agreeing to test my hormones because she said, I can guarantee that your testosterone is probably like obliterated. That's something that can be fixed with bioidentical hormones. And so we really need to know where my hormones are because I probably do need to start supplementing with some bioidentical hormones or hormone replacement therapy. That would also account for why I'm just not losing weight. So, barely eating and not losing any weight. Don't have an appetite. I'm nauseous as hell. Not losing any weight. Very frustrating to feel so crappy, to go through this, to spend the money, to make the effort, doing everything I can, and my weight just won't budge, which tells me that there's something more going on. Nothing to do with willpower, has nothing to do with me just eating, binging constantly, because I don't. Anyway, yeah, and brain fog. Just massive, massive brain fog. Very frustrating. It's very hard to make videos because I can't think. I can't remember what I'm gonna say. I can't remember words, common words, easy, everyday words. So it's upsetting. So I think you can see from that video my frustration and definitely some depression that was setting in when I started to realize that I didn't think that this was going to work for me because of the massive amount of exhaustion I was experiencing. And I had mentioned that in my last video. I was only 2 weeks into taking the medicine, but I had just taken my 3rd dose. And I had mentioned in that video like 3 different times about how tired I was. And it turns out, and I was dismissing it back then when I was only at 5 units, but it turns out it was from the semaglutide. This was an unexpected side effect and also explains why I was having trouble getting videos uploaded during that time frame, during the 2 months basically that I was on a semaglutide. So what you just watched was filmed when I was only like 6 or 7 weeks into the process, and I had only lost 2 pounds in 6 weeks. And those 2 pounds were only happened in the very first 2 weeks that I was taking it. And so I was even more frustrated that here I was, definitely not hungry, definitely don't have an appetite, having to force myself to eat. And I was eating healthy. I wasn't eating any processed foods or sugar or anything like that. I was having very healthy proteins and as many vegetables as I could get down. And to only have lost 2 pounds was also very disappointing. So I was really trying to be positive in that video as much as possible, even though I was starting to get emotional at points. And I was trying to hold it together and still be very positive and whatever. But the truth was, I was in a really dark place when I filmed that. I was very depressed. I was very exhausted. And I'm gonna hold off on saying anything more about that. I will talk about it in probably the next video, and or maybe a follow-up video, because this story is unfolding, and even though I've broken this up into 5 parts, I know there's more to this story, and I'll probably talk about more of that as I continue on my journey in life and share some of these things with you. Thank you so much for watching, and if you've gone on a semaglutide or are on one and you're having a great time on it, you don't have any of these symptoms, leave me a comment below. I would love to hear your story, and I'm sure other people would love to hear your story. And or if you've had unexpected side effects, leave those in the comments below too, because I think all of this helps other people who are watching these videos, if they're considering going on a semaglutide, to make a more informed decision. And like I said, my objective in these videos is not to convince anybody to take it or not take it. I think it's a very individual decision. I'm not here to judge, and I think you have to do what's best for you. And so that's not the point of this. I'm not trying to tell you to take it or not take it. It's completely, obviously, your life and up to you. But I do feel like my experience sharing it, because I haven't really seen, and maybe I just haven't been served that content on the internet, but I haven't seen anybody talking about having the side effect of severe, dramatic exhaustion, almost debilitating exhaustion, to be honest. I could barely get out of bed and go to work. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Leave me a comment below. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and hit that notification bell. That way you know right when I upload videos. And give this a like if you liked it, because that really helps the algorithm and for my videos to get seen by more people. Well, until next time, thank you so much. I appreciate all the support and love I've been getting from all of you. And it really means a lot to me. So I thank you very much. And you know what? You're doing great.